So the next one that we're going to do on this same hook, which is a number 8 Dairiki 270, is a little bit different. This one's called a double wing. Really a good cutthroat fly, this one. Love it on the South Fork. Really like it on the Middle Fork of the Salmon. And it's just a little bit of a modification of a Randall Kaufman stimulator. I'll do the same thing. I work with a little bit lighter dubbing here. And I want to put a couple biots out for the tail on this one. So I'm just going to put a real small amount of ice dub, which I kind of turned black there, but that's okay. That'll be an egg sac now. Just going to do a little ball dubbing back here. And that will allow for those biots to flare like the natural tail of a stonefly. So just using some goose biot here. You can buy it in a whole feather like that. This little side right here is where you get the good stiff biots off of. The other side is what you wrap your little PMD bodies with. And we're just going to run a couple little tails out the back. Not really super particular on how they lay. But we don't want them really long. You know, like maybe you would see on a prince nymph, we're running them a little shorter, a little bit more like the natural insect. Now I'll just trim off that excess there. Whoops, or I'll try. And now we're just going to go ahead and continue dubbing the abdomen of this fly. Hopefully I'll get it to not be black. Said similar to a stimulator without the hackle. I'm just going to go ahead and dub the abdomen. So about 2/3 of the way up the shank here. Getting a little bigger as we go. Now we're going to add our first wing. And this is where it gets a little bit funky. This stuff works great, this synthetic polypropylene wing material. But really, if you really want to get serious about it, the grizzly bear hair, legally sourced grizzly bear hair. Okay, I want to make sure we add that. Actually, the guy we get this stuff from is a trapper up in Alaska, and we'll get this stuff from him. Started out as a joke back, I think, at the South Fork Lodge at Spence Warner's place. And I think it was Doug Easter maybe that decided that that bear pelt that was hanging on the wall over there would make a really neat stonefly wing. I think that was probably in the early 80s, I'm guessing. And so they clipped a little bit of this grizzly bear hide off, and what do you know? Sure enough, works really well. And we're doing it a little different. We work with it a little different than you would think. We're not really necessarily interested in all this beautiful stuff out on the tips. What we're really interested in is the under fur and all the insulating value and the bulk that's right down next to the hide. Okay, and this stuff we've tried black bear, we've tried stuff that is from the lower 48, doesn't have near the durability and the floatability of the real stuff from up north. So I've tied that clump, I've cut that off right at the base of the hide, and I've flipped it around. And what I'm interested in, I'll thin that out just a bit, but what I'm interested in is this curly, downy, insulating stuff underneath here. This stuff with some floatant on it, some silicone floatant, floats amazingly well and is extremely durable. Definitely a lot of Jackson Hole one fly bugs from Scott Sanchez and Ken Burkholder and Uli, rest his soul. All those guys, they're the ones that kind of started bringing this grizzly bear hair or the bear hair fly into realm, and I was lucky enough to be staying in the same trailer park, so got in on the inside scoop. So basically we just got a stimulator going here with a biot tail and a dubbed body. And now I'm going to go ahead and just put a set of legs on here. Same style as the Chernobyl ant or the Matamex, that kind of style. Tying them in on the sides. Same stuff, using that medium rubber. This fly is a little bit more dainty, a little bit more likely to ride down in the water column than the flies with a lot of foam on them. And so I've just have those legs. I'll give you a tip up. You can kind of see what we're looking at from the top. And now I'll just dub in between those rubber legs, and we'll move into our second set. Our second set of legs and our second wing. Just filling in a little bit there. Going a little bigger than I did on the abdomen to get that thorax. And it tapers down just kind of like a Kaufman's would. Kaufman stimulator, excuse me. And so now I'm going to move back to, a 1/16 of an inch or so behind that hook eye. I want to leave a little room here. We've got a few more things to tie on. And I'll take another clump of that bear hair. You could definitely do this with the synthetic wing material. Be a great fly. But not quite as durable and not quite as high floating as the bear hair. Do a few wraps right in front of this just to kind of get it to prop up so it doesn't crowd my hook eye. This grizzly bear hair also makes really, really good caddis flies. Then we'll come up and we'll add another set of legs up here. And the big thing, Brett's going to talk a lot about how to fish these flies, but it really kind of is counterintuitive to the natural drift and the fly floating. Drag free in the current. It's the opposite. He's gonna tell you how we do it completely the opposite of what you'd think. Really want some movement. And this one has a lot of rubber, so a lot of leg action going on. Yeah, I'll do a little bit more dubbing. This fly could definitely be fished just like this. Call it good. And I definitely tie them pretty much like that a lot of times, but the double wing that we've been really having success with has just a little bit of foam on the head. Same thing, this 2mm foam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and try to create just a little bit of a wing case like those stoneflies have. I've cut the corners off, and now I'll do a little V. Probably more for the fly tire than the fish, but sometimes we do that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and lay this right on top, just behind the head with my thread. This one's called the double wing. We don't have this one out with anybody or anything. It's just we do it, carry it in the shop. Kind of lucky in that fact at my shop I've been fortunate enough to been in the fly fishing program at Idaho State for going on 13 years now, so I kind of got a fresh batch of fly tires that come through. Okay? And so a lot of our flies tied at our shop are local flies. And we do the same thing that we did on the chubby. Just trim the head just a little bit, make us feel a little bit better about ourselves. Let's see, I tied it off, so we're good to go there. Okay, and then on this one, a lot of the guys will leave these legs this long, okay, just to start with. They might trim them a little bit as they get on the water and shorten them up a little bit, but remember, we're really trying to, for this particular insect that we're trying to imitate, we're really trying to create a commotion on the water. You know, for my liking, I would probably clip them up just a little bit, just to try to make it look a little bit more like, you know, something respectable that you take home and show mom. And we can do the same thing. We can put our stripes on the legs. You don't need to do this, but as a lot of you might know, if you have confidence in the fly, you might fish it a little harder. You might give her a few extra casts, and could lead to a few more fish. So, rides a little lower, doesn't have quite as much foam on it. Sets down, the only foam that's on it is just that little bit right on the front. And this guy sets down just a little bit lower. And what we start finding, especially as the one fly starts, the cutthroat that have been fished to all year, and you guys probably see some of this on the green too, they become pretty selective by the tail end of the year. And what we notice is a lot of those fish will come up under a fly, they'll open that mouth, and if that fly doesn't get displaced and fall into their mouth, they don't eat it. They've already been through a season of it. And so your standard shop fly that's 2 or 3 pieces of foam, tied on a little bigger hook, a little bit more overdressed, they might never hit their lips. They'll open their mouth on it, but it doesn't fall in. And so definitely in the one fly, we think about stuff like that, whatever it takes to get a couple extra. And I'll let Brett talk about that a little bit more, but not so much. These guys, these flies, these insects, when they're out looking for a mate, are typically in big flats, okay, big shallow flats. And what happens is as that water drops with irrigation every day and it goes lower, all those insects that were in that 6 feet of the gravel bar, they emerge, and they typically emerge at night, and they'll skitter across the water. The males will take off across the water looking for a mate. And Brett will tell you kind of more how we do it and when we do it, but a little bit more so that we're creating an active fly. Okay, this is a little bit more, would be described as dry fly streamer fishing. Like really exaggerated, and Brett will talk about how he does it. I don't want to steal his thunder here, but really exaggerated strips.